I want to go through some exercises. And, oh, by the way, thank you, Daily. Not just for the support for your own miniatures, but for putting 2 miniatures up for raffle. That was really nice of you. And I hope that you get some thank yous from the people who won from you. So I had a little bit of tortilla stuck in my tooth and it really hurt. I'm not that nice. Uh-oh. You all have a favor now obligated to Daily. This is how he gets you. You don't know when, and you don't know what about. But there will be a day when Daily will ask a favor of you. Daily, yes. And that's solid advice, Derek. That is solid advice. Pay your boons quickly. All right. So, class, I hope you have your DMGs ready. We're going to create some NPCs. We have some notes, and I think that it is, I think that this is an excellent start in order to make NPCs for the story that we're eventually going to be creating over the course of this this week. Oh yeah, I saw it, Roxy. Congrats on getting your player's handbook. If you need help understanding it or putting something together, let us know. All right, this is hey Days, it's good to have you back. Welcome. An NPC doesn't need combat statistics unless it poses a threat. Moreover, most NPCs need only 1 or 2 qualities to make them memorable. For example, your players will have no trouble remembering the no-nonsense blacksmith with the tattoo of the black rose on his right shoulder, or the badly dressed bard with a broken nose. That is a good rule to go by. Don't obsess over statting out every single NPC. You don't really have to. You can just make up 1 or 2 things on the fly. Because if your players want to really pursue that NPC further, you've given them a way to do what's called the 3 whys. And I attribute Technotron to consolidating this idea in a conversation with me. And the 3 whys are just that. Let's use the example of the blacksmith with a black rose tattoo. Okay. Why does he have the tattoo? He got it in memory of his daughter who passed away. Why did the daughter pass away? The daughter passed away in the daughter passed away in childbirth. Oh. Why is the rose black? He didn't approve of her husband, but he loved his daughter, and always called her his little rose. And so, despite her dying, giving birth to this child that was made by her and whomever this other partner was, he still disapproved. Like, he's no nonsense, right? He still disapproved of her and her lifestyle, but he was still her daughter. And so he put a black rose on his shoulder so that he would always carry her. He would always carry her with him, like he carried her when she was a baby on his strong arm. Do you see what we did just by asking why 3 times about several words? A no-nonsense blacksmith with a tattoo of a black rose. The 3 whys now just made a backstory and made interaction and unique stuff. It's that easy. And we don't have to worry about what his wisdom score is. We don't have to worry if he's trained in athletics or stealth. The NPC is what you want him to be. And what you want, or her, to project into the world in which your PCs are playing. Derek says, it's also called the Mindy method, Buttons and Mindy from Animaniacs. Remember, oh yeah. Okay, love you, bye-bye. Yep. Good reference, sir. Good reference. Now, there are a couple NPCs that come to mind here. Things that I think we can very easily gen up. One of those, right? We have some outsiders. We were talking in our setting. Here, let me get back to it here. We're talking about in our setting that there are kind of interesting vampires that live here. And that they run these escort services, quite literally, where they will help keep you warm by drinking some of your blood and sort of injecting you with a bio antifreeze. Or it's some sort of a race that does this, and vampirism is becoming a thing of suspect. So, an NPC that the characters are likely to meet might be an escort, or rather a madame of one of the local houses in this confederacy. So why don't we construct her or him? I mean, brothels are primarily thought of in one way, but I mean, it could be if you're living in the middle of the Arctic, you know, look, staying warm is staying warm, right? Or you might just have an affinity. There's all kinds of reasons. Pardon me. That salsa's a little spicy for being Verde. It's good though. Dark Wolf, you got to yell at a player in a pixie voice today. Oh, well, if you want to share that story, I will enjoy my pomegranate berry drink. Beggars can't be choosers, right? I'd say any port in a storm, but I do want to treat this as actually like an industry that is above board and people are fine with it. Cheers to you, Shlomo. L'chaim. Hey, Bunny Love. No, it is not small. Alright, so detailed NPCs. For NPCs who play larger roles in your adventures, allow more time to flesh out their histories and personalities. As you'll see, 10 sentences can sum up the main elements of a memorable NPC. One sentence for each of the following. And so we have occupation and history. Appearance. Abilities. Talent. Mannerism. Interaction with others. Useful knowledge. An ideal. A bond. And a flaw or secret. Although the material here focuses on humanoid NPCs, you can adjust details to create monstrous NPCs as well. Let me make this bigger for TV here. Archfey patron Warlock was talked into helping his friend make a sacrifice to Tiamat, so he got yelled at by a pixie and told he'd get his magic taken away if he did it again. Yeah, I just imagine this little pixie kind of like waggling its finger and, you know, sort of, there. Alright, so occupation and history. In one sentence is, by the way, brevity is the soul of wit here. You can have an epic NPC with a storied back history and a family tree and all this other stuff that you've painstakingly plotted out for hours and hours at a time. And you may want to introduce that to your players. I mean, you're making the conscious effort to do so, but I recommend, look, your NPCs are there to serve a primary function and allow some sort of flexibility in some way that you can either adapt them to a situation, or there's always that one next mystery to find out about the NPC. Something that, you know, a knowledge bomb they can drop, or, oh, the whole time something has happened. Unusual eye color and extremely beautiful? Perhaps, we'll find out. So, in one sentence, describe the NPC's occupation and provide a brief historical note that hints at the character's past. Okay, so occupation and history. She is the Madame of, and we actually gave this place a name here. The Frowning Star. The Confederacy's most popular tavern and brothel. Let's see. Sorry, I have some little bits of tortilla chip in my teeth, so I'm trying not to make a bunch of gross noises or like kind of... That's the one drawback of tortillas. Well, tortilla chips, I should say. A brief historical note that hints at the character's past. So, she worked her way to this position over the course of many years. I mean, that would seem obvious here. Let's see, what else? So she's the head here. Not just of escorting clients from town to town, but through her skills of mediation and compromise. She's worried about the infection that is running through her employees and what it will do not just to them, but the business and the region as a whole that rely on escorts. And remember, escort here isn't just the term of someone that you pay that will go out with you and perhaps engage in romantic acts at the end of the date. They're living in this Arctic swamp. They have this ability to kind of give you like a natural, to give you this kind of natural antifreeze, and to, you know, help you survive. And in turn, because they're a kind of vampire, and something's mutating that's making them now not just helpful but lethal. All right, for her appearance, let's roll a d20 and find out what we have. 11, a birthmark. Now, we can use it as a placeholder if we don't know what it is just yet. We just know she has a birthmark somewhere in the shape of something, and we can always go back to it. But does that mean they won't? That they won't what, Golden? Abilities. You don't need to roll ability scores for the NPC, but note the abilities that are above or below average. So, her high ability, we're just going to go like high-low here. Her high ability is dexterity. Her low ability is strength. Hey, Delcorin. Doing the nobility wave. Slightly cupped hand. A nice tight 45-degree angle in front of you, right? Her talent, besides the obvious, for her profession is 15. Ooh, she's an expert cook. She is a belly warmer in more than one way. And again, I'm saying that with respect. This is a part of this culture and these people. Her mannerism is 1. Prone to singing, whistling, or humming quietly. Prone to 1. Singing. Interactions with others. In one sentence, describe how the NPC interacts with others using the NPC interaction traits table if necessary. Alright, so let's roll a d12 and let's form a sentence. We rolled 10. Ponderous. Okay. An innkeeper might be friendly towards a guest and rude to her staff. Alright, so interaction. Ponderous. She is often thinking about several things at once and takes great care to always use the correct and tactful language necessary to her profession. She often sings while she thinks. There we go, and we've tied it in together. Tonight is indeed a good night, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. Oh yeah, you got a 17. Very nice. Let me see. Dark Wolf, are you out there to hand out EXP? I am sorry to tell you, Delcorin, that you did miss a raffle, so I'm sorry for that. But I'm glad you're having a good day. And you know what? Who knows? We'll have another raffle sometime. If nothing else, by the way, everyone, remember, the third Wednesday of the month, so in this case, on the 21st, I will be holding a, the monthly raffle. And the boxes for that are the entire contents of the box, not just pick one figure. And the number of those are calculated by how many people subscribe to the channel. I was hooking a dude with a hungry sign up with a foot-long sub, so it was worth it. Ah. Daily says, boom, 17 and 17. So on top of that, Daily, not only that, but you get a nice random magic effect because you rolled the same number on both your dice. So then not only did you defeat Lulth, but you roll a d10, your height changes by a number of inches, okay? 4. Alright, Daily, not only do you defeat Lulth, but you grow 4 inches, despite how lewd that sounds, from having subdued this spider monster girl. Your height has increased in the event. Delcorin, that was really cool of you to do. To get that, to use your reward points to hook a guy up with a sandwich from your rewards. Plus the sign said hungry, not something like give me money or whatever. I was happy to help. That's really solid of you, Delcorin. Pardon me. So there you go. Dark Wolf, can you give Delcorin an extra 1,000 points for being a cool dude? Oh, pardon me. Apparently I forgot how to drink a beverage. Alright, useful knowledge. In a sentence, describe one bit of knowledge the NPC possesses that might be of use to the player characters. The NPC might know something as banal as the best inn in town, or as important as a clue needed to solve a murder. She is given her ranking and what she does. She has many political connections, as well as knowledge of physical hidden connections between the city-states. It could be Shlomo. I don't think many scammers would try to scam people out of food, so I felt he was legit. If a person went out of their way to look destitute and hold a hungry sign out in public, and they do it to get a sandwich, being like, yeah, I really got that guy. You still won a victory there, Delcorin. In any case, and even if this person is really that destitute, well, you still did something really nice for another person. Shlomo, I always give food, never money. Yeah, I think that's what many do, because unfortunately there are those who might use their hard circumstances to invest in things that will further make their circumstances worse. And, you know, if you want the best for someone, you know, something like that. I've had people, they've asked for money. And, you know, like, hey, can I get some money? I'm hungry. Let me go to McDonald's or something. I said, and to this person, I said, there's a soup kitchen that's open and is like 2 blocks away. Get in and I'll take you to it. And the whole time there, I mean, she was complaining. She says, well, I don't like their food. And, you know, they're probably serving pizza again. And I don't like pizza. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was being very nice. And I'm sitting here thinking, you approached a stranger asking for money for food, or at least you're claiming as much. He's going out of his way, despite anything else he's doing, to drive you to a clean, sanitary place with an excellent record that serves anyone, no questions asked, a free hot meal. And you are complaining about the pizza that they serve? And some similar things that she was talking about? I mean, I dropped her off. I was very polite about it. And it's not like I'll never do it again. I'm a very helpful person. But, you know, unfortunately, there are some people that their actions can impact your outlook on others in similar circumstances and create a bad impression or a bad stereotype. And you really have to fight against it. Because I know for a fact that, you know, for as many grumpy people like her, that local food kitchen here in town serves more grateful, wonderful people than just her. Delcorin takes the exit, all points, and runs away. Whatever. You helped someone out. You can have the points on this one, Delcorin. Yeah, I understand, Shlomo. I would agree with that. I'll agree with the lady depending on how hungry I am. I have to be close to starving before I eat chicken ramen again. I ate chicken and beef ramen daily for a year as a lunch, and the taste makes me sick. If I complained at all as a kid, I got my butt whooped, says Golden. Shlomo says, like it happened in McDonald's to me, and the man was like, I don't want you to pay for me. And I was, sure, dude, you can ask me, but I can't buy for you. Good luck with the next dude. Yeah, and you know, I've had someone another time, because look, my store until a couple years ago was in the downtown portion of my city. And I mean, there's a couple people hard on their luck who kind of go up and down the streets, and they'll ask people for food or change. And so I'm leaving the store, and the guy comes up, and I said, you know what? Yeah, because he asked for a meal, and I said, you know what? I'll take you there. There's a new Subway that had just opened up, and it was like a block away. You know, I'd have to circle the block anyway in my car, just the way things were. And plus, it would put him on the right side. And I'll go in and I'll buy you a sandwich. And as we get in, he proceeds to tell me, or he asks, I don't want Subway. Can I get McDonald's instead? And again, this is a different person from the other lady. And I just say, I'm sorry, we're Subway's right here. Let me get you a sandwich. And he said, well, I'd really prefer McDonald's. And McDonald's is definitely out of my way. It's out of the downtown area. And I simply tell him, No. Subway's right here. Is there something wrong? And then he tells me that he's not allowed back in there because he got kicked out. And I'm like, I didn't say that, but you're like, I really want to help. And I really am not going to take orders from someone that I'm providing a charity to, you know, and it's just, you really want to help sometimes. And you got to make sure you have patience and understanding, because look, as much as someone might infuriate you in a particular moment with their behavior, that person might not know better. That person could just be they're in a rough state if they're wandering and begging for food or money. So, I mean, their life is already tough, or they're making tough decisions, and you got to handle it in stride. And love ramen so much, lived on it for 2 years, still dive into that guilty pleasure at least twice a week. Daly says, I was in San Diego in the gas lamp for work and passed a lady that was holding a sign saying she was hungry. I brought her a meal from the restaurant I went to. She turned down the meal. Oh my. Was it an allergen thing, or what happened there, Daly? Del Corn's talking about the 25-cent ramen, not the good restaurant stuff. I can still eat the cheddar ramen, but that started to turn my stomach. Shlomo says, a woman asked me near a store to give money. I need to buy food. I said, nope, but we can go to the store and I will buy you things. She was fine, and we started to have a fight in the store when, after a few things, she asked me to buy her cigarettes as well. Daly says, juxtapose that with a woman here in Denver that my wife and I helped to a meal and broke into tears, thanked us through the whole meal, and could not be more thankful. Daly, when you have those connections with people, I mean, that's raw humanity right there. You know, I know we're talking about, this is NPC interaction in real life. And I'm not talking, like, there's a current thing going on right now in 2018 about calling people NPCs. Put that aside. We're talking about if you're the player character in life and everyone else is not you. That is a non-player character, because you are the player character. You know, when you have those moments, that makes your life, your story, real. Especially the good, but even the bad. You know, because all these stories that are going on over here, that could be up here. This could be an NPC we're generating. Do you think that a place like this wouldn't have homeless or vagrants or other people, drifters of some capacity? Heck, maybe you know what? Maybe we will make one as our next NPC after this. And they will run into just kind of a man on the street. I don't know who this person's going to be. Could be an evil character. Could be a lawful good saint who's just down on his or her luck. But you know what? I think in dedication to this conversation and the raw humanity that we get, that both makes us go, really? And also makes us kind of wipe away tears, I think we'll make a character like this. And we'll see how he or she comes out. I helped the guy and even gave him my work address and number because they're hurting for people and he's unemployed. I told him it was okay because I'm not far from being in his position, except I have a car and a job. When my grandfather dies, I'll be living out of my car. Well, Delcorn, I mean that's tough. If there's ways that I don't know if you can talk to you know, people who work in the probate court next to you in your county about what can happen if a relative dies in this situation. Or, you know, if you need to somehow pre-talk with, because look, there's a stigma to homeless shelters that they're like disease-ridden, you know, horrible places filled with horrible people who are just like shooting up heroin in the middle of the floor. And that's not always the case. If you do find yourself in a situation like that, a lot of them have employment programs, they have temporary shelters. The one here in our town, there's people who live there who have jobs. They just don't have homes right now because they're saving up or something along those lines. So there's services. There are private and public services out there to help, hotlines to call. There are public consultants and different people of different courts that might be able to help in different situations. Nadpoo, I had the opportunity to work as a soup kitchen during Thanksgiving. Oh, for the release program, gotcha. The amount of respect and gratefulness the people who we served showed was insane. At the time, it was a huge curveball because I was fresh out of prison and ran into nothing but disrespectful and ill-mannered people. And you know what, Nadpoo? You're going to run into that, unfortunately. Because I think there's a stigma, right? Well, I don't know what you did, and you don't have to talk about it, Nadpoo. If you want to, you can. You can share a human story here. I won't force you to. But I think that there is this stigma that despite being a corrections facility, that, you know, recidivism and other, you know, that once a bad apple, always a bad apple, that somehow people can't learn to, you know, come back into society in a way that they are reformed. You know, that the Shawshank Redemption isn't just always, you know, a tale of 0.001%, and that everyone else just can't function or, you know, is a criminal coming right back out kind of a thing. And you know what, Nadpoo? I mean, from what you shared, number one, since you first came to this stream, and you did mention that before, I think in your very first time here, I hope that you realize that you received no judgment. I didn't pucker up. I didn't say, oh, that's nice. Can you, like, I'm not going to recognize what you're saying here. I hope that you feel that you, even after revealing that information, which none of us would have known otherwise, I hope that you have been appreciated and well received. And you know what? You continue to earn it, and you're definitely going to continue to get it here. But I think there are many, again, like the person I brought to the soup kitchen. You know, you have that interaction with a bad apple, you say, oh, geez, all homeless people have to be like this. When that's not the case. All reformed, you know, all former inmates, for whatever happened, they, you know, clearly they're just going to slip back into whatever happened. And that's not always the case. And you know what? It's something, Nadpoo, that you got to live with. And I don't say that as a curse or a weight on you. In fact, it sounds like it might even be empowering you to live, you know, to live a good, solid lifestyle. It sounds like you definitely don't want to ever go back there. So. Shlomo says, yeah, finally I can be an NPC in someone's story. So there you go, Shlomo. Maybe we can even name this character after you if you really want to. Eswald, I've been slowly reading through the Art and Arcana book the last couple of days. Man, it's so cool. It scans the original drawings. Yes, Estwild, it's an amazing book. Amazing. Homeless shelters are quite clean, and the problems with the people that don't want to stay there. And you know what? There's even a lot of other homeless, because there are, I hear stories, there are others who are, you know, who get very upset or cause problems, but there's so many there who do understand that this place is kept clean, we're fed, and we don't have to like everything, but these are our circumstances that we're working to fix. And they get grumpy at other people who are giving them a bad name too. They have access to programs you normally can't get access until you're either in immediate danger of being homeless or are currently. The biggest trouble I've seen is the cycle that happens. Can't get a job without an address. Can't get an address without... Yeah. And that's why I think many shelters will allow you to use them as an address. Or the caseworker will work with an agency and say, this is the circumstances. They're here. We have them established. Good record, etc. and so forth. They'll be able to help me find a roommate in a similar situation. Until that happens, they won't. Oh. Hopefully I won't be in that situation for many years because my grandfather is cool. I hope your grandfather sticks around for as long as possible, Del. Nadpoo says, you in this community is awesome. I know if I come here, it's nothing but respect and good times, which is why I like being here so much. Well, I'm glad that you came and hung out. Nadpoo, as you've presented yourself here, you have been open-minded, you've been respectful, and I've never judged you from the day that you came in here and mentioned that. Look, if what I do as a profession, I'm talking content that we're supposed to be getting into next week. Come on, guys, what are we doing here? I'm supposed to be crafting NPCs with you. If I I'm in the wrong profession if I judge people seeing them come in with a bunch of tattoos or wearing leather or all the stuff along those lines. Because that I would be a big old hypocrite, right? And not just in the way where I say, well, we're a community, and I throw it out there like it's nothing, like it's whatever. I'm just obligated to say it, so you feel accommodated, and it's all touchy-feely, saccharine BS. No, that's what it is. And communities have problems, and communities have people who go through hard times, and whether they're brought on by themselves or not. And you know what, Nadpoo, I respect you. You came in here. You brought that up. It could be uncomfortable in certain situations, but I respect that you did it. And you know what? It sounds like you've accepted that as a part of your life. And after that, I mean, here you are, and there's been no trouble. I've not had to keep an eye on you. I've not had to censor your words or anything. Studded leather is way better. That's right, because it's still, you get one more AC and it still counts as light armor. Shlomo knows how to do this. Plus $200 a month for rent utilities is a really good deal. I won't find anywhere else. Yeah, that's a hell of a deal, Delcorin. Let's roll her percentile for her alignment. 57 and 7. That's going to be lawful neutral. In a sentence, describe one ideal that the NPC holds dear, and which governs his or her greater actions. Player characters who uncover an NPC's ideal can use what they've learned to influence the NPC in a social interaction. Ideals can connect to alignment as shown on the NPC ideals table. The alignment connections here are suggestions only. An evil character could have beauty as an ideal, for instance. And yeah, we've done that before where I've just said, let's just roll for it, good or evil or whatever in between. So actually, you know what? Let's just do that. I mean, she could still be lawful neutral if we want to stick with that. Let's just roll a d6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll roll another d6 in that appropriate table. 2, so an evil ideal. That is also number 2. That is greed. Okay, so she's a madame providing a service, and she's greedy. In a sentence, now I know I didn't put a sentence, but we're gonna roll this all together here. What is her bond? Let's roll a d10. 2, also. Wow, I'm rolling a bunch of 2s. Protective of close family members. In this case, it could be family, or this could be the men and women that work in her system of escorts. And that works very well for who she is and what she does. So we'll just say protective of her employees. Now, she has a flaw or a secret. And we're going to roll a d12 and find out what that is. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Another 2. My golly. Enjoys decadent pleasures. Was this NPC meant to do this job or what? Nadpoo says, it's part of my life. No sense in having shame or remorse about it. I'm glad that I went through what I've gone through because I'd be worried about what type of man I'd have been with if you had not gone through it. I respect that, Nadpoo, that you own that part, for whatever happened, whether Georgia prisons or paramilitary. And I spent 3 years in the Army. In fact, out your way, it's a requirement, isn't it? You're required to serve in the military for a certain amount of years. Delcorn, it takes too much effort to be mean. Delcorn, in the Army you get MREs, and I hear you can buy a car with a... you can buy a car with the lemon pound cake? I believe it too. That cake is insane. I don't know if I get that. Hey, Forsaken. Yeah, thanks for being a part of the conversations. Thank you for sponsoring a box yourself, and congrats on winning one of the raffle boxes from Daily. She's like a big mama. She could be, Dark Wolf. Shlomo says, in the Army here, they cut your sentence for bad behavior. Shlomo says, yes. Unlike you come with some BS reason, you need to go to the Army. Yeah, it's not conscription, but it's not voluntary service, but it's like a compelled, like, citizen service. Yes, Derek. That was about an hour and a half-ish ago. Maybe an hour and 15 minutes ago. Daily sponsored 2 boxes for the raffle. 2 of my younger players are considering joining the armed forces. Hey, Dark Wolf, we have a lot of veterans in the community that they could talk with. The MRE lemon pound cake is really good. And back when I was in Civil Air Patrol, you could trade it to people for entire meals. Oh, wow. All right, so here is one NPC that we made, right? This is enough here. Again, we don't need to know her dex score. I imagine she's quite flexible. But we have a lot here that when they come to meet this important person that exists in this region, that we can express herself, her personality, and we know, even if our PCs don't know, a couple of her secrets. We know a couple of the things that make her tick. Delcorin says, I've heard stories of people in the military trading the pound cake for socks and other real goods. That must be an awesome pound cake. Jeez. It's conscription, but the punishment for not going is quite light. Ah. Which reminds me, on a similar note, because at least here in the U.S. we're over election season. I'm not talking politics, but we're over that. And in Australia, it's one of the few countries that actually has, kind of like what you're talking about, Shlomo. If you do not vote in that country, the government offers a financial penalty. Not offers, like, oh yeah, I'll take it. No, the government will financially punish you for not voting there. I thought that was interesting. Nadpoo says, I was a kid going way too fast on a bad path. In Atlanta, it's called a jack boy. I basically robbed the dope man. One day I decided to rob a bank, the best and worst mistake of my life. And Nadpoo, if you share those stories with other people, I mean, like, we've heard of the Scared Straight program and the like. If you share those stories, you can prevent others from going down that path. You've been there. You've known what it's like. You've seen the destruction it causes to the self and the harm to others. You know, where would that path take you? I can't say I've heard of many success. This is rhetorical to you. This isn't a lecture. I can't say I've heard of many successful bank robbers that have just lived and lived and lived forever, doing this as their job. And so, you know, and many people might do that because they make poor decisions, because of peers and other social pressures, because of economic pressure, or just you're a dumb kid. And it happens. And I'm very happy that you shared that story, Nadpoo. You know what? What you're describing, Nadpoo, this character Sarge that we made, Like, this is what you're describing is and I love this character. I absolutely do. I said it last week when we were making him. This is a character that I would really love to play. But it does remind me a lot of that. And Roxy says, I was almost fined £1,000 for not... Oh, so this is in England also, Roxy? And that's just to register? Shlomo says, you also go home to at least... you also go home at least 1 weekend in 3 at worst. You think about Dragon Heist now? I mean, there are romantic notions in D&D and novels and such of, you know, in Wild West Bandits. Heck, Red Dead Redemption 2 is sort of the tale of this. I've looked into youth outreach programs. It's crazy. They want people who've gone through things to help relate to at-risk kids, but someone with a record like mine is too much for them. It's a trip. Oh. Well, you know, you might still be able to do so if you do it through, you know, other organizations. You know, maybe if it's not public, it could be private. You could, you know, I don't know if you're a member of a faith-based community. I mean, you might be able to tell a tale of redemption in that capacity, or, you know, you could always talk to your local newspaper or your local like a local radio station, and offer to come on and write a piece, right? A letter to the editor or something along those lines, and then you end up doing it yourself. But yeah, hey, I understand, Nadpoo, and you know what? Sometimes it's not just about approaching a network, but if you talk to people who are a part of other networks and they get to know you and they say, you know what, I think we can get around this. I think I know someone who can listen to you and we can work something out. So if it's something you really want to do, I hope that you'll be able to do that, Nadpoo, because you're in a good position with what you're telling me to be able to have that outreach. You know, whether it's through a religious outlet or like the Boys and Girls Club or 4-H, Boy Scouts, or Girl Scouts, or I mean whatever. You could, you know, you might even. There's just so much out there, and I think that you're in a good position to be able to help people by sharing your story. I live in the UK. I had to register myself to avoid the fine. See, that comes across as absolutely baffling to me, Roxy. Like, to be punitive to be able to exercise your right to not vote, which is just as much as a right to vote, in my opinion. Or, of course, over here, there's also, it's a popular word that I don't know if it goes back to, parts of our history. It's called a poll tax, which was it was financially punitive, and it was people saw that as, well, you're punishing people to vote, and so in this case, can you argue, well, you're punishing people to not vote, or at least in this case to register? I don't know, it just sounds, we speak the same language, we share much of the same culture, and yet here it sounds so foreign and bizarre. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not here to stir up any politics or, you know, say, well, this is that or whatever, but that it's crazy, because that's about what, $1,200 US, $1,300 that you would be fined to not register to vote. Interesting. Well, you know what? Let's make let's make this character, right? We're kind of moving into part 3. Why don't we take like a 5-minute break? And when we come back, let's make this character that this NPC that our player characters will run into. Let's have them encounter a vagrant of some kind who could be the old wise man, or honestly could just be. He could just float around, you know, like the snowflakes on the breeze. Who knows? But let's make a character like this as a way for us to to stay anchored and to think not just of the big important, the kings and the bishops and the mayors and the treasurers, but there's very important NPCs in our worlds around us. Again, I'm not using the political meme term. There's very important NPCs in our world around us that don't wear crowns or have, you know, big bags of money or anything like that. They're the yous and me's that just aren't us. Or people who are in a more dire situation than us. Is it a salsa night? Nadpoo, I had some salsa verde earlier. It was really good. And rather spicy for a green salsa at that. Now you sound like a voting ad. Hey, that's fine, Shlomo. I mean, I'm fine with messages like that here. It doesn't raise any hackles. I guess the only thing that would be, you know, where I said you have a right to not vote too, and I think you do, but not that I abide by it, but whatever. I'm just a big old loosey-goosey, you know, open-minded person like that, I guess. Anyway, let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and make this other character.